Have you ever wondered why classic cars from the 1970s still spark so much emotion, nostalgia, and admiration even after half a century? Today we're traveling straight into an era when American design reached levels of beauty, power, and personality that were never repeated again. And let me warn you right now, what you're about to see aren't just cars, they're legends, machines that shaped an entire generation and still leave people speechless today. Now, get ready to relive a golden chapter of automotive history. Let's begin. 1970, Chevrolet Camaro Z28. This is one of those cars that makes you feel something the moment you lay eyes on it. A mix of admiration, nostalgia, and an irresistible pull back to a time when a car wasn't just transportation. It was identity, a statement. This model marked a turning point in Camaro history, breaking away from the squared-off, muscular style of the late 60s and embracing a deliberate European influence, the kind of design dominating racetracks and prestigious boulevards around the world. You can see it in every line: the low stance, the sharp grille, the muscular fenders, the flowing proportions. It stands among the most elegant shapes Chevrolet ever created. It wasn't a crude muscle car. It was a refined predator, confident, sleek, and aggressively sophisticated in a way no previous Camaro had ever dared to be. But the real magic lived under the hood. There sat the legendary LT1, a 5.7-liter V8 that roared with a mechanical purity so raw and so honest that today it almost feels mythical. With just over 360 gross horsepower and a razor-sharp throttle response, it was an engine built to ignite adrenaline and carve a grin on the face of anyone lucky enough to drive it. And there's a little-known story behind its development. Early on, some designers feared the American public would reject the European-leaning visual direction. It felt like a gamble. But when the car hit the streets, the reaction was the exact opposite. The public embraced it instantly, and critics hailed it as a masterpiece, a perfect fusion of design, performance, and personality. Today, owning one feels like owning a time capsule. A well-preserved Z28 easily surpasses $70,000, and fully restored or immaculate examples can reach $120,000 or even more. 1977, Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Just watching it approach, low, wide, and defiant, is enough to trigger that blend of nostalgia and excitement that only the true icons of American car culture can produce. But what really turned it into a legend is the massive emblem dominating the hood, the golden Firebird spreading its wings as if it were ready to lift off right there on the highway. That symbol wasn't some random decorative flourish. It was a visual manifesto of pride, strength, and freedom in a decade marked by deep cultural change. Its design was pure attitude. The rectangular headlights, the split grille, the taut lines stretched along the body, and the flared fenders over the wheels gave the Trans Am a presence you could recognize from blocks away. It was one of those cars that looked like it was moving even when standing still. Under all that visual drama lived the 6.6-liter V8, a motor that, although constrained by the emissions regulations of the era, still delivered strong torque and a chest-vibrating soundtrack that defined the Trans Am experience. It wasn't just performance, it was feeling. And here's a detail most people don't know. The giant golden bird almost didn't happen. Some Pontiac executives initially considered it excessive, even scandalous. But the designers insisted, convinced that this metallic plumage would become an unmistakable signature. And they were absolutely right. Once it hit the streets, and especially once it hit Hollywood, the Trans Am became a cultural symbol, earning its permanent place in automotive mythology. Today, a well-preserved 1977 Firebird Trans Am typically sells for anywhere between $35,000 and $70,000, depending on originality and the condition of that iconic hood decal. 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1. Some cars refuse to blend into the background, and this one doesn't go unnoticed for even a second. From the very first glance, it's clear you're looking at a Mustang that decided to step forward, broaden its shoulders, and dominate the decade with an almost intimidating presence. The endless hood, the the fastback roofline dropping aggressively toward the rear, and the wide, powerful proportions turn it into a sculpture in motion. A muscle car that doesn't ask for attention, it demands it. Every angle radiates strength, as if the car is always ready to devour the road ahead. Beneath that imposing stance lived several V8 options, but none more legendary than the 429 Cobra Jet. This engine didn't just deliver power, it delivered an entire sensory experience. The deep growl, the vibration through the chassis, the immediate throttle response, everything worked together to remind the driver that this machine was built to stir emotions. Its backstory is just as revealing. In the early 70s, Ford needed to reinvent the Mustang to stand apart from increasingly fierce competition. The result was this larger, more muscular, more dramatic design. The move sparked heated debates. Some purists preferred the lighter, compact proportions of the 60s. But time has been kind to the 1971 Mach 1. Today it's considered one of the most charismatic Mustangs ever built, a symbol of an era when American design dared to be monumental. And here's a fun fact. For years, this model was undervalued in the classic car market, which ironically allowed many survivors to remain in relatively untouched condition until collectors rediscovered them. Today, values typically range from $40,000 to $90,000, depending on engine configuration, condition, and authenticity of the details. Now, let me ask you something directly, especially if you lived through that era or grew up hearing stories about these unforgettable machines. Does the 1971 Mach 1 deserve a spot among the most iconic Mustangs of all time, or do you have another favorite from the decade? Drop your answer in the comments. Your opinion fuels our community. Don't hold back. 1971. Buick Riviera, boat tail. This wasn't just a beautiful car. It was an artistic statement in an era when American design was searching for identity and boldness. The moment you walk up to a boat tail, you immediately feel you're standing in front of something different, almost cinematic. Its boat-tail rear end, inspired by classic speedboats, created a silhouette that still looks like something pulled straight from a futuristic prototype. That descending curve, narrowing toward the center before flaring out again, looked like nothing else on American roads at the time. For many, it was shocking. For others, instant love. But nobody, absolutely nobody, was indifferent to it. Buick's designers had a very clear intention: reinvent American luxury with dramatic personality. They wanted a car that visually dominated the pavement, one that made its owner feel they were driving more than just a machine. And they succeeded. The boat tail was long, imposing, with soft, flowing muscle running from the nose all the way to its iconic rear end. It carried the presence of a sophisticated grand tourer, but with a rebellious soul that refused to follow traditional rules. Inside, that sense of elegant indulgence continued. Wraparound seats, flowing panels, and a driver-oriented dashboard made you feel like you were stepping into a private capsule of comfort and style. And under that long hood lived Buick's big block V8 engines, including the mighty 455, famous for its abundant torque and smooth, commanding power delivery, perfect for devouring long highways with the calm of a yacht gliding over water. Today, a well-preserved 1971 Buick Riviera boat tail typically sells for $25,000 to $45,000, while fully restored, highly original examples can easily surpass $60,000. 1973. Chevrolet Corvette. Stingray. In a decade defined by bold stylistic experimentation, the Stingray managed something truly remarkable. It captured the futuristic spirit of the 70s without sacrificing the raw sports car essence that had always defined the Corvette. One look at its profile reveals everything. The long hood, narrow waistline, and voluptuous fenders create a silhouette that almost seems to breathe. This wasn't just design, it was aerodynamic sculpture. The 1973 model marked a crucial turning point in the C3 lineage. It was the final year to retain the classic fastback-style rear window from the early design era, but also the first year to adopt the polyurethane front bumper, an advanced technological solution for its time that pushed the Stingray toward a more modern aesthetic. Small detail, huge impact. It changed the car's face entirely, making it cleaner, more refined, more futuristic. It's precisely that balance between past and future that gives the 73 Stingray its iconic aura. Under the hood, the V8 was still the unquestioned star. Depending on the configuration, buyers could opt for the 350 or the massive 454, both known for strong, effortless torque and the ability to turn a straight road into a full sensory experience. The beauty of the Stingray wasn't about outrageous numbers. It was about the feeling. And here's a detail most people forget. During the development of the C3, part of the design team studied shapes inspired by marine creatures, especially rays and sharks. They wanted a car that looked like it was slicing through the air just as an aquatic predator slices through water. They achieved exactly that. And that is why the name Stingray fits this 1973 interpretation so perfectly, maybe more than any other. In today's market, a well-kept 1973 Corvette Stingray usually ranges from $25,000 to $45,000, while exceptional or rare spec examples can easily exceed $60,000. 1970 Dodge Challenger RT. Just looking at it head-on, that aggressive grille, those headlights tucked in like the eyes of a nocturnal predator, you feel an instant jolt of admiration. It's a design that doesn't age, doesn't lose impact, and still provokes the same shock and awe it did the day it first appeared in American showrooms. Its long silhouette, muscular wheel arches, and perfect balance between elegance and brute force turned it into one of the most desirable muscle cars in the entire history of American performance. Under its hood lived engines capable of turning any stretch of pavement into a theater of pure adrenaline. Among them were the legendary 440 Magnum and the feared 426 HEMI, considered by many to be one of the most sacred engines ever built. The story behind its development adds a special twist. Dodge wanted a car that could go head-to-head with the Mustang and Camaro, but didn't want to imitate them. They wanted something bigger, bolder, more theatrical, something that radiated presence even at idle. That's why the Challenger adopted such an imposing, almost cinematic design, one that quickly conquered enthusiasts everywhere. And here's a detail few people know. In its early years, the Challenger didn't sell nearly as well as Dodge hoped. That resulted in far more limited production numbers compared to other muscle cars of the era. That commercial failure ended up becoming its greatest advantage. Today, that lower availability has turned the R/T models into extremely coveted collector pieces, especially those equipped with the high-performance engines. Time transformed what once seemed like a weakness into a treasure. In today's market, a 1970 Challenger RT typically sells for $80,000 to $150,000, depending on originality and condition. Hemi-equipped examples can easily exceed $200,000. 1971 Plymouth Barracuda. There's something about its presence that blends menace and elegance with almost dangerous ease. Its sharp front end, the recessed, challenging headlights, and those wide, muscular wheel arches give it the aura of an urban predator, a car that seems to observe everything around it before unleashing that deep, chest-shaking roar. Among the muscle cars of the early 70s, very few managed to balance aggression and refinement as perfectly as the Cuda. It was fierce, yes, but in a sophisticated, almost artistic way. What truly elevated this model into legend was the combination of design and power. Under the hood, buyers could find the iconic 426 HEMI, a power plant now revered as one of the crowning achievements of American engineering. The year 1971 is particularly significant because new regulations were beginning to reshape the performance landscape. That's why Cudas from this year, especially the Hemi cars, were produced in extremely limited quantities. And here's the curious part. That limited production eventually turned the 1971 Cuda into one of the most desirable collector cars in the world, not just because of its power, but because of its exclusivity. Many experts consider it the absolute holy grail of American muscle. In today's market, a 1971 Plymouth Cuda can reach prices that sound unreal. Authentic Hemi cars have sold for over $500,000 at auctions, and exceptional examples can climb far beyond that. 1976 Cadillac Eldorado. This car is the purest, most absolute definition of American luxury. One look at its immense, almost endless silhouette is enough to understand that It wasn't built just to move people from place to place. It was built to celebrate the very idea of traveling. In an era when the United States still proudly showcased its industrial might, the Eldorado became a rolling symbol of status, power, and sophistication. Its monumental length, imposing presence, and majestic rectilinear design made it feel like a highway battleship, a vehicle that glided over the asphalt with a level of elegance no other car could match. What fascinated people about the Eldorado wasn't just its size, it was Cadillac's interpretation of luxury. Every detail inside seemed crafted to wrap the driver in absolute comfort. Huge seats, thick upholstery, deep carpeting, glossy wood trim, and sound insulation so effective you could whisper at highway speeds. Under the hood rested an engine worthy of its colossal posture, the massive 8.2-liter V8, one of the largest engines ever put into a passenger car. There's also a remarkable historical detail. The 1976 model marked the end of an era. It was the last front-wheel drive Eldorado convertible, and for years Cadillac advertised it as the last American convertible, fully convinced that this body style would soon disappear forever. That declaration gave the car an even more iconic aura, turning it into an instant object of desire from the moment it was unveiled. Today, the 1976 Eldorado stands as one of the ultimate symbols of classic American luxury. On the collector market, prices typically range from $20,000 to $40,000, though exceptional convertible examples can easily surpass those numbers. 1970 Oldsmobile 442. This is one of those muscle cars that seem designed to command respect without ever raising its voice. Its balanced presence, muscular lines paired with an almost aristocratic elegance, made it one of the most admired machines of its era. Watching one approach, you immediately feel like you're looking at a car that owns the road as effortlessly as a seasoned actor owns the stage. The 442 wasn't flashy, wasn't loud in its styling. It was pure confidence shaped into metal. Beneath that impeccable exterior lived one of the most exciting mechanical hearts of the muscle car golden age, the 455 V8, an engine capable of delivering monumental torque that made the 442 surprisingly quick for its size. What's fascinating is how it delivered that power. It wasn't brutal like some of its direct rivals. It was strong, smooth, almost refined, as if tuned specifically to express strength with elegance. Here's a curious detail many forget. Although Oldsmobile was seen as a more mature, conservative brand, the 442 became an unexpected symbol of sophisticated rebellion. A car that proved performance and elegance weren't opposites. They were perfect partners when balanced correctly. That balance made the 442 a favorite among both young enthusiasts and seasoned drivers looking for something truly special. In today's market, a 1970 Oldsmobile 442 typically sells for $50,000 to $90,000, depending on configuration and condition. Rare W30 package cars can reach substantially higher figures, as they represent the peak expression of this legendary model. 1975 Lincoln Continental Mark IV. For many enthusiasts of classic American luxury, this is the most majestic car of the entire decade. Just a few moments looking at it are enough to feel that unique blend of presence, elegance, and quiet power that so few automobiles have ever been able to project. Its straight lines, long and solemn silhouette, and unshakable posture make it feel less like a car and more like a rolling piece of architecture. The Mark IV wasn't trying to be sporty or aggressive. Its mission was to convey distinction, serenity, and that silent authority only the great Lincolns of the 70s could deliver. Its tall, commanding front grille looked like it was designed to announce the arrival of someone important. It had a noble face, defined by a vertical design that echoed ultra-luxury European cars, yet reinterpreted with unmistakable American grandeur. The famous rear spare tire hump, inspired by the external spare wheels of 1930s, Lincoln's added a touch of heritage that reinforced its unique identity. No other car combined tradition, presence, and modern aesthetics as convincingly as the Mark IV. Inside, it was a sanctuary of absolute comfort. The wide, plush seats felt more like the armchairs of a private lounge than anything you'd expect inside a vehicle. The dashboard was elegantly trimmed with metallic accents and simulated polished wood surfaces, creating an atmosphere meant not for driving fast, but for relaxing completely. Under the hood rested the 460 cubic inch V8, an engine designed to deliver smooth, effortless, and consistent power without the slightest hint of stress. Today, a 1975 Lincoln Continental Mark IV typically sells between $15,000 and $30,000, although fully restored or exceptionally preserved examples can reach much higher figures. And that brings us to the end of this journey through some of the most beautiful, powerful, and unforgettable American cars of the 1970s. Each one carries a story, a design philosophy, and an emotional essence that still resonates today. And I'm certain at least one of them brought back a memory, a feeling, or a special moment for you. But now, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which one of these cars stole your heart? Which one did you own, dream of owning, or would add to this list? Your experience matters, and sharing it here keeps this passion alive for all of us. And if you're craving more time traveling through automotive history, I invite you to watch our next video dedicated to the most beautiful European cars of the 1970s. I promise it will be just as fascinating as this one, packed with design, elegance, and the legendary models that shaped an entire continent. I'll see you there.